public perception to this movie has been
Awful.
atrocious.
So many creators on TikTok have been, this is the worst superhero movie. This is the worst superhero movie. This is the worst movie
Ever made. I've already made a TikTok about how funny it is, the terrible ratings for this movie.
Yeah. Our theater gave it a round of applause at the end.
Oh, Arron started a round of applause that 2 children joined in.
Three children joined me.
Oh, no, you have a game.
Oh, the game.
Better or
That's
worse?
right. Thank
Aren't
you
you
so
glad
much.
Aren't you glad I remember that?
Yes. Okay, so welcome to our segment, Better or Nah. We should do this more often.
Yeah, better.
Welcome to Backseat Directing.
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew.
and Aaron.
And we put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we have the pleasure of reviewing Madam Web.
3, 2, 1.
Action. This one's tough. Movies are really hard to make.
Yeah, in a kind of cavalcade of internet comments and interviews and ratings of basically, to not dance around it, shitting on this movie. I think we're going to try to look at the upside in a lot of ways. We're going to give our realistic review of the movie with our actual personal ratings, but also with a lot of fun information thrown in there too. So I have a source code segment, which is when we do kind of our comic origins and talk about the source material that inspired these characters. So I have some information for you if you're interested later on in the episode regarding the not just the actual comic issues, but the storylines that created these characters. The 3 main female Spider-Women in the story, Madam Web and Ezekiel Sims. We'll have that later after we do our personal ratings for it, and then some little fun like factoids as well. But public perception to this movie has been atrocious.
So many creators on TikTok have been, this is the worst superhero movie. This is the worst superhero movie. This is the worst movie
Ever made. That is egregious.
The Flash just came out last year, bro. Like,
you ready to top it already?
Yeah.
Let me get over with my first impressions just saying that I do not think it's that bad.
Yeah, it's not as bad as what I was expecting it to be based off of all of the hype of how bad it was. I was told that I was going to be laughing at every single line because of how bad it was. Not the case. Some of the lines were very cheesy, and I did laugh at why they would say something like that. Why would the characters do something like that?
So you're still alive.
Some of the lines were definitely bad. That didn't make me laugh, but a lot of it was just okay.
Yeah.
You know?
And just okay is like, I feel like just okay is a bad place to be in because it means you didn't take a whole lot of risk, but you also like didn't succeed on the shots that you took very well. It's not the best place to be in, but it's also, this isn't movie purgatory. Like I was saying to you before we started filming that the amount of 0.5-star and 1-star reviews on Letterboxd is just like unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like it's
almost like just the popular thing to do right now.
It's fun to crap on the movie right now. And like, we're never going to hop on that train. I mean, in terms of listen, I guess I should specify, like in terms of our reviews, we're going to give our honest opinions. I've already made a TikTok about how funny it is, the terrible ratings for this movie. So like, yeah, it's the fun thing to do, but realistically, like you're going to sit down and say like, this is the worst movie you've ever seen. You haven't seen a lot of movies if that's the case.
Yeah, it's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not the worst superhero movie I've ever seen. I actually do have a segment that I want to do, like after we do our ratings of better or nah.
That's fun. That sounds like fun.
And I got a list of a bunch of superhero movies that have been known to not be the best out there, and I want to see if you think it's better or nah.
Taste test right now. Better or not, Avengers Endgame or Madam Web?
Ooh, that one's tight. We'll save that till later.
We'll do it later.
We'll save that till later. But I feel like a lot of the criticism here, for me at least, is not directed towards any of the filmmakers or people who like were actually the creatives on this, but more so the studio getting involved.
Mine's directed towards the writers. I'll outright say that myself. Like I feel like the writers did not execute. If this was like Super Bowl Sunday, you'd be seeing a bunch of like ESPN covers that they didn't do their job out there.
Yeah, I agree, but I feel like most of the blame for me anyways is going to be directed towards the studio. It just feels like they don't, because this happens over and over again with these Sony Verse movies. It's not the same writer on all of them.
Well,
So like,
this was
what's the issue
it's the
here?
same writers on a lot of them. You'd be surprised, but the at least this movie has freaking four writers, four people with screenplay credits. So not all of them, right? But isn't
Mhm.
that kind of crazy that it seems a little messy to have? I know sometimes writers' rooms are bigger than others, but generally on movies, I haven't seen four people in most of the movies we covered. There's
Yeah,
four people, and then there's also like 3 to 4 people with story by credits, and only like two of them are the same people.
I guess the first two have worked on Morbius.
Yeah, it's there's quite a bit of overlap, and that's a problem, right? When you have a movie like Morbius that everyone
But
thinks is not great.
But isn't it also the studio's job to hire the best people?
Yes, yeah.
So like,
Why?
why
Yeah.
are they why are they satisfied with this
Why do
mediocrity?
they keep banging their head into the wall expecting a different result? Is what I'm wondering. Because you've got screenwriters that are credited with these. Everyone's famously is like, oh, Gods of Egypt, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and Morbius. Why are these the people you're continuing to bring back? It's like, Sony, what are you thinking?
Yeah,
Also, the original concept for this movie, the original plot, was that Madam Web and one of the Spider Women was going to be protecting Mary Parker, who is pregnant with Peter Parker. They're going to be protecting her in a Terminator style action movie where they're basically like protecting the savior of the future, Spider-Man, from this person who wants to like destroy the Spider-Verse. Ezekiel Sims was going to be hunting down Mary to kill Peter Parker specifically.
sounds freaking awesome,
Sounds way better.
and it directly is related to the Spider-Man that we all know and love.
So this information
So
is
there's stakes.
yeah, exactly. And it involves Mary Parker and Peter Parker in the story in more of a way, even though Peter Parker is like in the womb. But
Yeah,
I
and those are also two characters that we don't know a ton about.
yeah, we don't
You
know a lot
know?
about Mary Parker.
Yeah. So that would have been really cool.
And the dad's not even in the movie. Spoiler alert. We will spoil the movie, so just know
Yeah.
that it's a Madam Web review. But I just think it's so crazy that they had a cool plot concept like that, and then they're like, let's forego that, force more Spider Women into the movie, even though like two of them, the two of the Spider Women are Spider Women at different points in time, the second and third to hold the mantle. So like just sandwiching them into the same age, the same story, like trying to get more like faces in there. Let's get more Sydney Sweeney in there.
Yeah, it's sell toys.
Yeah, it's
and it not movies, which is really unfortunate. Dakota Johnson in a bunch of her like tour interviews and stuff, one of the questions she was asked was like, how much did this movie change from when you signed on to what was finished? And she basically said, paraphrasing of course, like the whole thing. Like
said a
it was
lot. Yeah.
completely a different movie by the time it was done from what she signed on for. And I feel like Sony has been notorious for kind of tricking actors and actresses into thinking that this is going to be the MCU or it's going to join the MCU or like this movie is actually going to be cared for. And it just hasn't been the case.
Yeah, I think if she was fed that original story, it sounds a lot cooler. If the story she was told was like this Terminator inspired story, but still unique in the Spider-Verse world, it sounds a lot more exciting than what she got.
What's fascinating is like Dakota Johnson's reaction to all of the interviews that I've seen her doing for her press tour for this. Like she doesn't care at all about the movie, and I feel really bad.
I'm sure they cut her a
You-
fat check.
I'm sure she's getting paid too, but like, yes, like the money helps, but I'm sure you get into, or at least I do, like into this creative field because you want to make things that people enjoy.
Yeah.
And when you're being sold one thing and you sign on for one thing and then it's something completely different, like that's not fair to all the people who signed on to this project. And I forget my original point. Dang it, what did I want to
About
say?
Dakota Johnson getting you mentioned that she
Yeah,
didn't seem to care.
Yeah, it'll come back to me.
But I want to dispel a rumor here too, because a lot of people have been talking about like her reaction to it and not caring and this and that. And I think people are reading into it maybe a little bit more than they need to. I saw that she switched her talent agency like after the trailer for the movie was released. But
That's what I wanted to say. That she fired basically her whole team,
well,
her agent and all of them.
apparently, I don't think it's so much that she fired them. I think she went a different direction and switched the agency because the other agency she's going with is willing to support a future project she's going on. So they're getting a film made that she wants to get made. So it might just be a thing of bad timing, you know, that the trailer gets dropped and now it looks like she dropped her agency at the same time. But there's other reasons that she did it.
Yeah. Do you believe in coincidences? All right, let's get into some of the details of the movie. When we do a movie review, we like to break it down into the ratings, earnings, creators to start off our review. This movie obviously came out this year, 2024, rated PG-13. It is an hour and 56 minutes long. On IMDb, it is rated a 3.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes for the critics has a 13%, with only 200 reviews. So not even that many critics have reviewed this movie. Audience doesn't really have that many more, with only 500 plus ratings, but it's in at a 56% right now, which I feel like isn't terrible for the worst movie ever made.
Yeah, I feel like it's just there's a lot of hyperbole going on around this movie, a lot of exaggeration, and people just saying it's fun to hop on the bandwagon. It's fun to hop on the bandwagon and get up with everybody and say this is the worst movie. Like, let's all laugh together at it.
Yeah.
We like laughing is better when you laugh together. So
Sure.
everyone wants to hump on that train, but it's exaggeration is what it is. It's not a great movie, but you know, it's not as good a headline or not as fun to say that it's bad versus the worst movie ever.
Yeah.
And I'm one to talk about that. I'm very hyperbolic on this show.
For sure. The budget for this movie was $80 million. They did have a lot of reshoots, so maybe take that with a grain of salt with how much they actually are reporting
Well, I
here
heard
for
they
the
got
main budget.
I heard they got a huge tax cut. They filmed in Boston, Massachusetts, and they got like a $20 million tax cut or something. It was originally, I think, $100 million, and that sliced off the top of their budget.
Okay. And then the box office as of February 20th has it at $51.9 million. So it's almost got its budget back.
51.9 million. Wow, that's a big jump from like the opening day. I think a lot of people maybe just because it's being talked about.
Yeah.
You know, because the opening
I think that's why so many people are going to see it.
yeah, the opening day release was measly, but it was also a long weekend because like President's Day or whatever it was. I'm such a bad American. But yeah, it's been very talked about. It's in the public zeitgeist. People are using the words Madam Web to say how bad it is. And the theater we saw it in had quite a few people.
It did for like the middle of the day on Sunday or Saturday.
3 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was early, so you usually don't see that many people in the earlier shows.
Yeah. Our theater gave it a round of applause at the end.
Yeah, well, Arron started a round of applause, but 2 children joined in.
Three children joined me.
I have a stat here from IMDb trivia. It says this movie, Madam Web, grossed 15.4 million domestically in its opening weekend. It is the 6th lowest of any Marvel movie. The other ones are so lost to the mythos that they're mostly hard to even recall, other than New Mutants, I would say. But the other 5 lowest grossing are Punisher Warzone from 2008, Howard the Duck from 1986, the New Mutants that came out during COVID in 2020, so that one hardly counts against them, and Elektra in 2005, and then The Punisher in 2004. So like those are like hardly Marvel movies. Like that's the off-brand B team.
Right.
Punisher 2 is R-rated. So that's probably a big part of why those 2 Punisher movies are on there. It limits your audience.
Right.
Super R-rated too, the Punisher movies.
I haven't seen it actually, but the show's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Johnny. Our next part is the creators. So this is where we talk about who's in front of and behind the camera. So starting with behind.
We've got our director helming the movie Madam Web, S.J. Clarkson, also with a writing credit as well. S.J. Clarkson, as far as I could look back, as she's directed a lot of TV stuff. I don't think I even saw another feature on there before Madam Web. It's like a lot of shows that are pretty popular. She directed a few episodes here and there. The main one I put on here was Defenders, because that's another superhero project.
Jessica Jones, 2 episodes from there.
Yeah, but it's like a few episodes here and there from like a lot of different shows.
Yeah. I think this was her
film debut, feature film debut.
Mm-hmm.
But she wrote the screenplay along with Burke Sharpless, Matt Sazama, and Claire Parker. It's a lot of people. And the story's credited to Karem Senga, Matt Sazama, and Burke Sharpless. Now, our cinematographer is named Mauro Fiore, who, I hope I'm pronouncing their name right, but they did the cinematography for Avatar. Maybe you've heard of it. 2009 Avatar.
What?
And Training Day. So just
Oh,
two amazing movies.
sheesh.
I feel like this movie's cinematography is actually okay.
I
It
think
doesn't seem
it's
like it was done by the same person who did these great movies.
yeah. I'd agree.
You wouldn't guess that.
Yeah.
The music is from I hope I say this right, Johann Soderqvist. Maybe. And the edit is by Lee Folsom Boyd. Now, moving on to in front of the camera, we've got our cast. This movie's cast includes, as we've mentioned, Dakota Johnson as Cassandra Webb, Sydney Sweeney as Julia Cornwall, Isabella Merced as Anya Corazon, Celeste O'Connor as Maddie Franklin, Tahar Rahim as Ezekiel Sims, Mike Epps as O'Neill with a really small role in this movie, Emma Roberts as Mary Parker, also with a small role, and Adam Scott as Ben Parker. I was surprised to see Emma Roberts show up as Mary Parker because for one, it's a small role, and also like I feel like We're the Millers came out like just a few years ago, even though I know it didn't.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's strange to see her play like an adult in a movie with like a bunch of, like youth character, like high school age characters. To see her play like I'm the adult who's having about to have a child. I'm like, is she old enough? Like, am I old now?
Yeah.
Because I remember her from Where are the Millers, where she's like playing a high schooler.
Normally, on at least movies that we're really excited about, we talk about who kind of stole the show for us, who's the actor, actress that really stood out. So I feel like it's only fair to talk about that for this film too. Did anyone like stick out to you above anyone
I feel like
other's performance?
I feel like Dakota Johnson probably did the best job.
Hmm.
I feel like she took a lot of the brunt of. She had obviously the most lines in a pretty bit abysmal script, and I feel like she made some like a decent amount of it work.
I like Celeste O'Connor.
I think she did really well.
She felt really
Yeah,
natural
she's
with
Maddie
the
Franklin.
lines that she was giving and her delivery and just her character in general. She felt the smoothest
She
to
probably
me.
had less cringy lines than almost anyone else. I think
She felt
that helps
more
too.
real.
Her
Yeah.
lines I think were somewhat better written
Yeah.
than like Sydney Sweeney had terrible lines,
Oh
and
yeah.
Dakota Johnson had a
Hers was
lot
the
of really
worst.
bad ones too.
Yeah. And I think Dakota Johnson did fine with what she was given, like I think she's a good actress. I also liked Isabel.
Merced.
Yeah, she did good. She's Dora. She's gonna be in The Last of Us as well as Dina.
She's gonna be Dina.
I think so.
That's interesting.
Let me see.
It's
I'll just double check that real quick.
confirmed casting.
Pulling it up right now.
Dina's not Hispanic, is she? I don't think she is.
Where is it? Where is it?
I don't see her as a Dina, but I don't know. I think if I had played the games before watching the show, I probably also wouldn't have saw um, Ellie,
Yeah, that's true.
Bella Ramsey as Ellie, but now I
Yeah,
do.
Last of Us, Dina.
Interesting. Okay,
Mhm.
I guess hopefully they're cooking with gas there.
Yeah. She did fine in this movie too, I think.
She's pretty big now.
Yeah. Okay. That kind of wraps it. That was everyone, right?
Yeah, that's
for
everyone.
for all
I
the
mean,
creators.
there's
So now we get into the best part of the show, and that's our ratings.
everyone loves this part.
That's right. That's why everyone signed up for this show. That's why everyone hit play. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's going to just help out our show. You'll be notified whenever we're posting things so you don't miss anything. We post new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
Leave a comment and join our Discord to make sure you let us know what you think about Madam Web.
Boom. Yeah, Discord. Make sure you hit that up.
All right, so our ratings are broken down.
To 6 categories. So this helps us to try to get as unbiased of opinion as possible while like breaking down the different parts of a movie because so much goes into making a movie. And our first category is what we think is the most important, and that is the story. And this one we have out of 10 points. What'd you give it?
This is a pretty bad rating. I gave it a 4 out of 10.
Okay. So on this show, we have never had a score where Andrew and I have completely agreed on all 6 categories. Right now, we're starting it off hot because I also gave it a 4.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the basic concept of him like chasing them down to prevent the future has like interesting, it has some interesting nuggets in there, right?
Yeah.
It's like, the whole concept that I always take from Oogway and Kung Fu Panda of the more one attempts to avoid their destiny, the more they steer towards it.
Mhm.
Like, that concept is interesting. He's trying to break the future he sees, but he's ultimately like walking himself to the door, kind of, bring him trying to avoid death.
Yeah.
And I just think that the execution was pretty poor. Sandwiching in the different characters was really unfortunate.
Yep.
And then when I like originally I was like maybe it's like a 5 or a 6, and then I was like, well, the script and the dialogue is included in our concept of story, since everything we only have the 6 categories, had to knock it down another couple points for the poor dialogue.
Yeah. I thought the part where she can like see into the future and how she's trying to figure that out, I liked that. That was interesting. Some of the scenes may have played out a little bit too long or wasn't
Oh yeah, the
executed
train.
as well as it could have been. Um, and like you said, some of the dialogue is a little cheesy. Swinny.
You got it. Ready? Go.
I don't even remember her last name now.
Sweeney.
Sweeney. Her lines were probably the worst out of all of them.
The villain Ezekiel Sims did not have great lines either.
Yeah, he didn't. And the ADR was pretty rough as well, which we'll get into that when we go into acting. But yeah, the story is the most important part, right? Like everything else could be mediocre, but you have a bomb ass story, like it could be a great movie. But if it's kind of where everything's mid, then it's gonna be it's gonna be forgettable,
Yeah.
And that's why I had to give it a 4. They tried, and it's hard to try to make a movie, so I think a 4 is deserving. Our next category is acting, so now we can break down everyone's performance and talk about the ADR and all that stuff. What'd you give this? This is out of 10.
I think we're gonna disagree here, and maybe I was a little bit too lenient, but I gave it a 6.
Wow, yeah, we're not on the same page on that one.
I think that the acting is. I think the acting is not what suffers here. I think it's mostly the
The
writing.
writing.
Although I don't think the acting is phenomenal, reflected by a 6.
Hmm.
I think the main distracting element of the story is the writing, the dialogue that they're delivering with the acting.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 10.
Yeesh, worse than the
And
story.
yeah, yeah.
I think we could stand to probably meet in the middle on that one, like a 5.
Go to 5. Just change both our scores to a 5. uh, yeah, it's tough. It's hard to act a poor script. So I
It's hard to differentiate too once it's all set in stone. It's like it's all
right.
mixed into
Yeah,
composition.
yeah. The ADR was really rough, and that's where they're recording the audio after the fact of the villain. Uh, it seemed like some of his lines didn't even match what he was saying originally. Like it seemed almost like it was a rewrite for some of the lines. Some of them you could tell kind of were the same words, but they weren't lined up very well. Seemed like the ADR was rushed.
I just know that anytime I was like laughing or having a big reaction, it was like to the words and not the way particularly that they were being said.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. I could see that moving up a little bit, but it was my gut reaction, so I'm gonna stick with
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna stick with it. The next category, which is my favorite category, cinematography. This includes a lot. We got the composition, the camera movement, the coloring, the editing, which is a big one that I want to talk about for this one. The lighting. So much goes into this category. This is out of 10 points as well. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Okay, nice. I gave it a 4.5. And mainly I think it was because of the editing. Um, Kind of brought it down because I was gonna give it a 5, but then a lot of the action scenes, which there's only like 3, it just seemed like they cut away from the action pretty much every time that something cool was about to happen. I remember when we first see the spider villain in the train station, I leaned over to you and I was like, this is almost cool. And I think it's because of the way that the scene was filmed and edited together. Like, it would have been really cool to see like a Spider-Man character just picking off these cops like a Batman would, like coming out of the shadows, zipping over here, zipping over there. But it cut away from all of the big parts, like right as they would snatch, it would cut away, or right as we start to see it would cut away and now he's in a different position, or it kind of seemed like we would see him coming on one way, and then they'd cut for him coming in the other way. And it was, how did he get there? You didn't show us anything in between.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like I noticed quite a few times when they were trying to hide the ADR by focusing on the other characters in the scene that,
Like the woman on the computer.
yeah, like they were on her for a long time, and it seemed like it was because they didn't want to use his take.
Yeah, I think that's defendable. I think the edit is pretty tough. I do think that there's a handful of like unique creative shots in the movie. Like I like the over the shoulder shot for Dakota Johnson as the ambulance gets hit by like the dump truck or what have you. It's like
Mhm.
out of focus in the background. I think there was some cool camera movement moments like just throughout the movie, like just some kind of spiral shots with the camera here
They
and there.
did have a
Like
lot of cool movement shots, but I feel like they took away with it by cutting away from those movements so quickly. And I'm all about like a fast paced edit, you know, like that's honestly a lot of the types of videos that I'm editing, is these like kind of highlight, quick cut clips, but they would do like a cool like camera rotation, but they're like cutting in the middle of that rotation and matching it with another camera movement that didn't flow together. So like the cool camera movement I would be disappointed with every time it came on screen. But the scene where the car was upside down on the bridge, I was like, there's so many cool shots here, but they're not letting any of them breathe.
yeah, I mean, the same can even be said of like one of the big trailer shots of the movie, which is when he flips the Madam Web around in the diner. He flips Cassandra around, and they do like that big arcing shot that like flips the camera upside down, and it like looks cool, but it's just so quick. You know, some of the, like you said, some of the great shots are just so quick you can miss them.
Also, like I guess you could say like iconic shot from the trailer where Sydney's character is like upside down. They they started that at the end of that shot. And then so like we didn't even really get to see her in that upside down shot. So it was like it was weird,
I
you
thought
know?
the special effects looked mostly good. I mean, there were some spots,
Sure.
like some practical
Thought the
spots
lighting
that
was
looked
good
a
too.
little strange, like the Aranya people like running on the trees. I thought looked a little strange, or like even climbing up
Just
and
that
down.
one shot, I feel like.
But also when they were climbing up and down on the trees, I was very evident that there was a person on a wire
Mm,
moving their hands back and forth
hmm.
like this. And I feel like, yes, that's what you have to do, sure, to do it practically, but it shouldn't look like it.
Yeah,
Like
you
his,
can do it better. Look at
yeah,
the Amazing
yeah,
Spider-Man.
it just looked like the body was a little bit far away from the surface for it to be
Sure.
like natural. And but I thought a lot of the special effects were very passing, like
Mhm.
the ambulance flying off the whatever that second story parking garage and smacking into Ezekiel. Other than him just directly jumping into the ambulance, which I don't know why he did that.
Or the fact that that happened in the first place.
Yeah, but like it looked fine. I thought it
Yeah.
looked good.
Mhm.
And then like a lot of his movements, like jumping around on top of the cars and stuff, I feel like looked just fine.
I thought the lighting and the color grade looked good too. I think that was the strongest part of the cinematography. Uh, but yeah, the editing and the way that they directed, like the action, just they missed the mark. I think it could have been a little more impactful. Moving on to sound design.
Ready?
All right, so this includes all of your sound effects that you hear, your score, your soundtrack. So pretty much anything that you're hearing is included in this category. So I guess you can kind of include the ADR if you wanted to. I didn't think about it too much, but I put this right at a 5 out of 10.
Also, 5 out of 10.
Yeah,
Yeah, knock it down for the ADR, but then pick it up a little bit for the fact that they used "Toxic" by Britney Spears.
yeah, that's right. They did use that song because the movie takes place in 2003. I don't
Yeah.
know if we mentioned that in the beginning.
Yeah, for anybody that might be confused, it takes place in 2003 because there's young Madam Web, young Ben Parker. Peter Parker is still in his mom's stomach.
Mhm.
So that sets up the story here for us, is the timeline with all these young Spider Women.
Yeah, I thought the sound design wasn't necessarily good to like stand out, but it also wasn't bad to stand out, you know, other than like that ADR part, which can kind of fall under a lot of these categories, you know. Um, but yeah, right in the middle of the road for me.
Yeah, nothing special to really say about the sound, I don't think.
Yeah, when I was watching, I didn't really like think about the sound at all, you
Which is
know.
a good thing normally.
Right. Um, Next category is set and character design. So this is everything that you see in terms of like what's real, but then also their reasoning why they're dressed the way that they are, the reason why the scene looks and is dressed up the way that it is. For this is out of 5 points, and I gave it a 2.5.
I gave it exactly the same also.
Yeah, man. So we were pretty close besides acting and cinematography so
Yeah,
far.
we're on for the other ones. It
Yeah.
stinks.
Why'd you give it a 2.5?
I just feel like I gave it 2.5 because I had to bump it up a few points for Ezekiel Sims' suit. It looked really cool. I wish that he didn't take the mask off or take the suit off so much. Now that I've seen a comic picture of him and seen him walking around in a suit with no shoes on, I appreciate the suit with no shoes on outfit even more in the movie. I think it's pretty cool that it's a added comic detail.
Seemed goofy.
Yeah.
Not seeing anything. I haven't seen any of the comics for this, so it felt out of place that he just wasn't wearing shoes. Why wasn't he wearing shoes?
It didn't feel too out of place to me because he's just like an out of place person. Like he's just like I don't know. We didn't get very much on him to know who he is or what. Like, did he have this backstory where like he lived in the wild? Like, I don't know. Why doesn't he wear shoes? Most people wear shoes, buddy.
Wasn't he wearing shoes in the woods?
Probably to blend in. He's like a normal person would wear shoes.
Yeah, I don't know. My first thought is like, oh, because his feet can stick to things, but then he's wearing the spider suit
When
and
he
has
needs it
boots
most.
on. Yeah,
I like the suits for all the Spider Women.
I agree. That's why I gave it the 5 or the 2.5.
Yeah. An extra half for those suits, but then you can't give it too much because it's in so little screen time. It's literally, I would attribute it to less than 2 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I'd say a minute.
Yeah.
Like
the suits are
30,
actually in.
30-second segments.
Yeah, that's
It's
it.
ridiculous. It would have been cool if they were in like half the movie.
Why would you show it in the trailer if it's in?
They showed it
minutes of it
throughout the trailer too, as if it's like this big, huge part of the story.
I was expecting them to get suited up in the third act and be wearing suits.
Yeah. About halfway through, I was like, how are they ever going to get their suits? Like, it's going to be so drastic.
Just in a vision. That's all you get.
Yeah, it was just in a flash forward kind of thing.
God, so trash.
Ugh.
But I also liked the trademark red jacket for Madame Web. She looks pretty cool. I thought it's like for everything good I could put a dig into.
Yeah, the glasses looked a little goofy.
The glasses did look goofy.
Doesn't a 2.5 out of 5 seem just higher than a 5 out of 10?
Yeah.
To me, it does. It's like a 2.5. Like that's quite a bit. Our last category, which for me is pretty important in determining whether a movie is good or not, is the rewatchability factor of said movie. So we give this out of 5 too, and maybe a way to think about this is if you were asked and you weren't doing anything else, so you would rather do nothing or watch this movie 5 times, what would it be? For me, I gave it a 0.
I gave it a 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I'll probably never rewatch this movie. I don't see a reason for me to ever want to rewatch this movie. Yeah, that's a 0 is pretty harsh, but I can't see myself talking myself back into watching this again.
I think a 1 is a pretty low score. Like obviously, is a very low score too.
A 0 shouldn't be allowed.
I'm okay with setting at my 1.
Yeah.
I think the movie was just okay. I don't want to watch it again. Is there like a reality where I could watch it again? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I would I be excited? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would I be like, oh, I wonder what I missed from the first viewing of Madame Web? Absolutely not.
No. Yeah, you probably didn't miss anything besides what they didn't actually show in the story. So that wraps up our 6 categories. So this gives us a total score out of 10. For me, I got a 3.8 out of 10.
For me, I got a 4.9. Is that your lowest score you've ever given?
It's not. The Flash is lower. I feel like I enjoyed this movie more than this score reflects. If that makes any sense, you know, like
Flash is marginally lower for me. 4.8 for The Flash and 4.9 for Madame Web.
Mine was 3.6 and then 3.8.
Still both like pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking throughout The Flash a lot more like, why would they do this? This is dumb. That looks bad. You know, maybe because there's more expectation because it was, I don't know.
I like The Flash considerably less than this movie. So
yeah,
for ratings to be so close.
There's just a lot wrong with The Flash. With this one, I was just, maybe it was because I knew what I was getting into. I don't know. I feel like I knew what The Flash was
As
too.
time gets further from The Flash, I like it so much less.
Oh, yeah.
And I already didn't like it very much.
Yeah. So is it the worst thing in the world? No. But when you break it down into each category of filmmaking that we have designated for our ratings, it doesn't it
Doesn't shape up very
yeah,
good.
it doesn't work out very well. Um, it definitely deserves criticism, but it's not the worst movie ever made.
Are you interested to hear my source code segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
This is probably the funnest part of the episode right here, like what these characters are actually supposed to be.
So this is source code where we break down the source material for the characters or storylines in something we are covering. Now for Madam Web, the
We need like a title card that pops in like a I don't know, like a 70s cartoon thing, you know. Yeah.
source code. So Madam Web, our titular character, portrayed in the movie by Dakota Johnson. She is Cassandra Cain. She first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man number 210 in November of 1980. She was a clairvoyant mutant with the ability of precognition, which is just a fancy way of saying that she can see the future. So she's a mutant, a la the style of the X-Men universe, born with her powers. She's born with myasthenia gravis, a real genetic condition that causes muscle degeneration, and therefore she is wheelchair bound and blind. She's originally confronted or meeting Spider-Man in
So that didn't even happen in this at all.
no, unrelated. But she originally met Spider-Man, assisting him in finding a kidnapping victim. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't read any of the comics for any of these characters, but if I'm not mistaken, it's one of her students that is kidnapped, and Spider-Man helps her discover him. That's how she gets connected with Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. So she goes on to psychically aid him and even learn his identity at one point, and she becomes like kind of this psychic mentor for the Spider people. But eventually in comics, she is killed by Anna Craven, daughter of Craven the Hunter, and she passes on her abilities at that time to the second Spider Woman, Julia Carpenter, also known as Julia Cornwall, who in this movie is portrayed by Sydney Sweeney. So let's find out her backstory. Julia Carpenter Cornwall, it's both her parents' last name, is the second person to hold the mantle of Spider-Woman. She first appears in Secret Wars number 6 in October of 1984. She joined what she thought was an athletic study and was then injected with a combination of spider venom and some exotic plant extracts, which gave her spider powers. None of these origins will be featured in the movie, just so you know. Maddie,
None of them.
Maddie Franklin is the third iteration of Spider Woman, which for some other weird reason they chose the second and third iterations of Spider Woman. Jessica Drew is the most common and popular version of Spider Woman, but not featured in the movie. So Maddie Franklin first appeared in Spectacular Spider-Man number 262 in October of 1998. She's the niece of J. Jonah Jameson, and she sneaks into a gathering of the Five, which is a criminal gathering similar to the Sinister Six. And she takes the powers that Green Goblin had intended to give himself. So what I get from that synopsis is that Green Goblin is trying to give himself some superhuman powers in the Spider-Man style, and she ends up somehow through happenstance taking them and becoming the Spider-Woman eventually thereon. Our final character is actually not a Spider-Woman. She's a Spider-Girl. Anya Corazon first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man number 1 in August 2004, the youngest of the characters that we've seen. She is caught between the Spider Society and the Sisterhood of the Wasp in an altercation and is mortally wounded. A mage named Miguel casts a spell with a spider tattoo that gives her spider powers and saves her life. She then becomes Aranya and later takes the name of Spider-Girl, which Aranya related to the Spanish word for spider. Our final character to cover here is our villain, Ezekiel Sims. He first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 30. He gained his powers from a ritual in a temple and became a rich businessman. He later befriended Spider-Man in an effort to trick him, but ultimately sacrificed himself when he realized that Spider-Man was a true hero. So he got his powers intending to use them to be a Spider-Man, not a Spider-Man. Spider-Man didn't exist in that storyline at the time, but intending to like do good. And then he realized in order to have a base of operations, he needed money. He used his powers to somehow get himself into a high business position, and he gained all this wealth. And eventually realized he'd kind of lost his way. He tries to draw Spider-Man into this trap, but just before this like ritualistic monster can kill him, he steps in, sacrifices himself, recognizing that Spider-Man does everything for good, and he's kind of fallen off the path of good and has a last minute change of heart. So totally unlike anything we see in this movie.
Not a single thing was the same.
Nothing from any of the
Besides their
characters.
names.
Besides the myasthenia gravis.
Yeah.
And the names.
That's unfortunate because those origins sound better than what we got.
But we got nothing for quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like we just got their family dynamic.
Yeah, there wasn't much story develop or character development in the movie besides CPR. They all learned CPR. This was an ad
Given
for
CPR.
CPR. If that was a business, they paid them a lot.
The American Heart Association and the American Red Cross paid them a ton of money
They
to raise
funded this
awareness.
film.
I think that there's a little bit of character development maybe you could argue for Madam Web because she goes from being like, ew, kids, I don't like kids, to like being a parental role for the three main characters. But it's like you don't really know
Bless you.
you you don't really know where it came from other than just like happenstance.
Time.
Like
Yeah.
the kids were like, oh, our parents aren't looking after us. And then she was like, I'll do it.
What did you think of the change of the iconic line, with great power comes
I get
great
tired of them doing
responsibility?
that. I get to either just don't say it or just say it. Like, how many times are they going to rework it? They reworked it for Tom Holland's delivery of it, and then now they're reworking it again. Like, just say, with great power comes great responsibility. And one day, too, when you have that responsibility, you will also have great power. It's why?
I feel like I had to think about that
We
one
know
more.
we know what you guys
Like-
are trying to
like,
say.
Is that right? Is that how it actually works?
Like we know what you guys are trying to say. I mean, if they flip it around, it is kind of ironic because it's like a movie about precognition and seeing the future. So it's like if you flip the great power and responsibility, it's backwards, future past. But like just don't do it.
That's a stretch.
I need to give them more credit than I should.
Yeah. I don't think it was the worst thing ever. But
It just seems like doing verbal and written gymnastics to just try to find a fresh way to say something that's already been iconic for 50 years.
yeah, and you're part of the same storyline, so it's just a canon event. Let it happen.
Just let it happen. Let the cannons fly.
Do you have anything else for this movie?
Oh no, you have a game.
Oh, the game.
Better or
That's
worse.
right. Thank
Aren't
you
you
so
glad? Aren't
much.
you glad I remembered that?
Yes. Okay, so welcome to our segment, Better or Nah. We should do this more often.
Yeah,
by the way.
better or not.
Better or nah.
So I'm just gonna say I'm answering only, or should I
Yeah.
give you movies too?
Nope.
So
Just you.
I will solely answer with better or nah.
Yeah. So the movie that I'm saying, is it better or nah than Madam Web? Batman and Robin.
Better.
Better? Okay.
I feel the urge to defend it. I don't want to just say better or nah.
Superman Returns. Better or nah?
Is that the one with what's his name?
Superman Returns.
Not Zachary Levi, but the guy I think looks like him.
Yeah, he was also in Chuck. Who? Zachary Levi.
Is also from.
Yeah. Brendan Ruff.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen. No, I haven't seen it in too long
Oh.
to say.
Well, IMDb has it at a 6.1.
So it's
I would say it's better.
the thing about these first two movies though is that they're Batman and Superman. It's just a better character.
Yeah. Okay, so we've had two betters. What about better or not? Ant-Man Quantumania.
I'm gonna say nah.
Nah? Dang. Okay.
I
So-
do not like Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yeah. Do you want to expand on that at all, or should we just move
One
on?
of the most forgettable Marvel movies. They make a joke out of their villain. They have him defeated by ants. And then what else do I need to say besides MODOK?
Yeah.
Nothing in Madam Web is as bad as MODOK.
I definitely gave Ant-Man Quantumania a higher rating than this movie.
I probably did. I may have, but I shouldn't have if I did.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gotten one nah, two betters. These are in no like particular order. They're kind of all thrown around. So we have the next one, better or nah, Thor: Love and Thunder.
Better.
Thor: Love and Thunder is better.
I say better.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch Thor: Love and Thunder. It's got Thor in it. It's got
Yeah.
Natalie Portman. It's got Chris Hemsworth. It's got Russell Crowe. It's got Christian Bale. It's got cool. It's got cool like
It's
cinematography
definitely-
with the.
It's definitely
Shadow Plan.
better made. I don't like the story, but yeah, I'd have to say it's better too.
I'd rather see like Thor throwing Mjolnir than see not
And-
Stormbreaker than
And
see
like
Madam
making
Web.
out with them too.
That
Oh,
part's
my
fun.
hammers. I love you.
I'd rather see him swinging Stormbreaker around than see Cassandra Webb with like a piece of a building as a shield or some random bullshit.
Better or nah? Daredevil with Ben Affleck.
Better.
Better.
Shit on Daredevil with Ben Affleck all you guys want.
I haven't seen it.
Give me the hate.
I haven't seen it.
I used to watch that movie a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah. Someone said that suit is better than the Daredevil suit that Charlie Cox wears.
Nah.
And I don't see that
That's
at all.
insane. His suit is pretty bad.
Okay. Better or nah? Wolverine Origins.
Better. But it's like
Good.
I know Wolverine. I love Wolverine.
Yeah.
I don't know Cassandra Webb. Like, yeah, I've seen Madam Webb in the Spider-Man 90 show, but I don't know Cassandra Webb.
Yeah, and the movie didn't do a good job of explaining to us, or at least giving us enough to develop an emotional connection with, because even though it's her first movie, you can still fall in love with the character off of one movie,
Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Better or not? Blade Trinity.
Haven't seen it in a long time again, but I have the urge to go with nah. But I haven't seen it. I mean, it's Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds killing vampires, so it's probably it may well be better. I just don't remember it well enough.
Okay, we'll put that as a nah because that was your first answer. This one, better or nah? Suicide Squad. Without the.
Okay, the first Suicide Squad movie.
That movie's well known to be a mess. Is it better or not?
I'm going to say Suicide Squad is better. They both have a villain problem, but
it's probably more fun.
More fun, cooler heroes.
You get to see the powers and stuff more.
Will Smith and Margot Robbie.
Yeah. Okay, better or not? Fanforstic.
Oh, better. Oh, better. Oh, no. I thought you meant Fantastic Four, the original movie. Fanforstic? Nah. Madam Web.
I was going to say, are you sure you want to say that?
Madam Web is better than that.
Okay. What about better or nah for Birds of Prey?
Oh, God. That one.
This is a female movie versus female movie.
This one's actually really tough. But I think I'm going to give the edge to Birds of Prey and say nah.
I haven't seen Birds of Prey.
Or say better. I'm going to say better.
But I feel like it's got more going for it because there's a little bit more of a backstory
again, it's got
going into the movie.
Again, it's got the villain problem. Ewan McGregor's Black Mask leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
And it's got the problem of just underdeveloping the side characters, underdeveloping the hell out of like the Huntress and the others. But I think that,
which is so unfortunate because Margot Robbie is a great cast.
I think Margot Robbie carries more than Dakota Johnson carries. I think Margot Robbie's like the funny, like fourth wall breaking stuff, the goofy, like.
Well, we get to see her like be a character,
and there's more action, and I think in Birds of Prey, like her, and this is stuff like going after the sandwich and stuff.
Okay, better or not? Green Lantern.
One of the most forgettable superhero movies of all time. But then again, it's also Ryan Gosling and
Ryan Reynolds.
It's also Ryan Reynolds, and I always do that. That's my major slip up on the podcast, always. Yeah. But it's Ryan Reynolds. He's super funny. Blake Lively. Like, I also want to say, like, haven't seen it long enough to judge. I haven't seen But
if you had to give it a better or not,
I'd give Green Lantern probably better. I think I'd rather watch Green Lantern.
I give it a better. I watched Green Lantern probably like a year and a half ago when it like first came back on Netflix. Knowing that it's not the best thing ever, it was kind of fun.
I think
it was an enjoyable watch. I can definitely see why it was disappointing when it first came out, but it was fun. I had fun. I don't think I could rewatch Madam Web and have fun. Green Lantern was bad because of how campy and cheesy it was. But Madam Web is just kind of poorly written.
Yeah.
Okay. Better or not? Catwoman.
I'm going to say, nah. Catwoman's not better.
Okay. Better or nah? The Flash. You gave us your ratings earlier, so.
Yeah, I know the answer.
How's your continuity?
I'm just getting confused by the better or not concept. Nah. Flash is not better.
So is the movie that I'm saying better or not?
Yeah.
So not better, right? No?
Nah.
Okay.
Madam Web is better than The Flash.
Better or nah, Morbius?
See, that is a little bit more of a tight race. That's a little bit more of a tight race.
I wonder what I gave Morbius. Let's see if I can look it up.
There's some cool stuff in Morbius, but it's not good. That one is like damn near a tie for me.
Oh, dang. We did that movie review so long ago that we didn't even do our
Rating
ratings
system
for it.
Wow, this is before we even developed the rating.
Episode 10.
10?
10.
Man, why did we do Morbius so early?
Because
people talking about how bad it was.
Yeah, I guess. It didn't even come out when we watched it like after the fact. It was just maybe like on Netflix or something.
I'm going to say nah. I'm going to say that Madam Web is better than Morbius.
I think I would say Morbius is better personally.
Morbius at least has
it
like
had
more
more
superpowers in
cool
it.
stuff in it. Yeah.
But Madam Web, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I enjoy the cast more. I'm not like a big Jared Leto fan.
Me neither. The dancing was pretty
It was
cringy.
really bad.
Okay, last one that I got for you. This movie kind of
The Dark Knight.
kicked off the Sony Verse, I think. Better or nah, Venom.
Venom is better. Now, Venom Let There Be Carnage is worse.
Is worse.
Yeah, I hate Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Venom was not good enough for me to want to see the next one.
Oh, you didn't see it.
Uh,
So would you say better or not for Venom?
I'd say better because the character is cooler.
It's cooler. And also Tom Hardy.
Yeah, like there was some cool scenes, you know, like that scene where their cops are all in the building and all the lights come off and there's smoke and stuff. Like it was cool.
Mask on. Mask on.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was cool as shit.
Yeah.
Oh no, he says copy. Mask on. Copy.
Yeah. Yeah. So like there's more cool parts there.
You want up?
So that leaves us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 betters out of the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 that I gave.
Are those like some of the worst rated movies?
Yeah, I didn't even look it up. I was just like going off the top of my head of the superhero movies that haven't gotten good reviews because everyone was being so dramatic. They're all like, this is the worst superhero or worst movie ever made. And I was like, come on, guys, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, it's fun to say that.
Yeah. All right. I think that finally wraps up our episode reviewing Madam Web. We're in the 170s right now with how many episodes we've get posted.
Guys, if you want a reliable source of content and entertainment, refer your friends, bring them into the fold. Like we are always here consistently, day in, day out, 2 days a week, Monday, Thursday, if not more sometimes. Like you're getting a steady stream of hours and hours of content.
We have not missed a day of posting, so Monday or Thursday, since we started in 2022. That's crazy.
Yeah, and we've had some crazy stuff happen along the way and still managed to get it filmed and done. So
yeah, gone on vacations, crazy movie shoots, maybe people canceling on us. I think one day we had like 3 cancellations. And I was like, dang. All right, let's think of something else here. We'll pivot.
We just sit here in the dark of the studio looking for trailer reactions to do.
But yeah, if you enjoy the conversations that we have, you'll probably enjoy joining the Discord. There's a link in the description of all of our YouTube videos. You can click that, join there. There's no paywall. It's free. It's just open. We talk about different movies. We talk about shows that are coming up that we're going to be posting. And then we take recommendations too. We've done a lot of recommendations from the Discord, and we normally get them out within a week or two of that recommendation. So we like getting you guys involved with the show. We're a show for the people, you know, and we just like having good conversations about movies, shows, comics, video games. So any source of media that's entertaining, that doesn't have too many words, we're on board for. We post every single day on social media as well. So follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube is the big one. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. So check us out there. Again, every Monday and Thursday. Thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap.